What's that?
The assignment sheet, is it on Canva?
Is it?
No, because I haven't seen it on the assignment sheet.
Should we do it now?
Yeah.
That makes it hard to do the assignment. Hang on. So I want to show you how to accurately construct sections and represent something like this. The point of this being it's hard to understand what's going on inside of this just by looking at it from the outside, right? You can understand the shape, but there's some interesting complex spaces happening in here. So to answer the question, let me show you again how to trim the back of this so that we can build it. So I'm going to zoom in on it. I'm going to flip it over using Rotate 3D. Okay, and I'm just going to notch out the corners on the back side. The back side is flat, right? But we could do it on the front also. I'll show you how to do it front and back.
It has to be flat?
No, doesn't have to be.
Oh, okay.
You may want it to be. Okay, so I'm just going to draw a 1-inch frame. I'm going to copy it to all corners. Okay, and now I'm just going to type trim. These are my cutting objects. I'm going to come in here and just select inside the frame. Keep in mind, if you're having a problem doing that, if that's not working for you, it may be because it's not actually right on the surface. So be sure you snap to it. Say we were doing it on the other side, for instance. 1 inch. It's just so that I bring a box of binder clips and it allows us to binder clip these together like this. Right, so if you do this, I can put a binder clip here, one here, one here, one here, and I can hold all 4 together. You see that? Yeah. Okay, so that's the purpose of that. If you wanted to do it on the front side, I used to ask students to do it on the front side, but I think just the back side is sufficient. Let me show you here. Okay. So you see the problem here, right? Okay, my frame is in there, but look, I can't trim simply. So what do I do?
Project curves.
What?
Project curves.
Yeah, we could project curves. Let's try that. There's a few ways we could do this. So I can come in here. I can type project. It used to be called project curves to surface. Now it's just project. Select that. Enter. Enter. Okay, and now you see it's here. So it did some more than, because that line is on the surface, it looks like it dragged it all the way up here. Let's see what happens if we trim that. Alright, seems to have worked. Yeah. Another way to do it. Can anyone think of another way to do this? Another way to do it is to do this. Extrude curve. Solid, we'll say no. Right? And now I can trim with that. Now watch what might happen as a result. Alright, that worked pretty good. Okay. If it were to take out a sliver from the side, just, reconstruct the side. I'm a big fan of just, manually modeling things in Rhino. Okay, so a few things. I'm going to go through the process of cutting a section. And then we're going to unroll this. And if you guys have modeled this, has everyone 3D modeled this so far? Have you unrolled it? It should take you about 5 minutes to unroll it. Maybe I'll do mine real quick just to give you an idea. So what I would like on Wednesday would be the section drawings drawn. These should be pretty simple. And have them unrolled so that you could laser cut. Yeah? You have a question, Lily? The section? It doesn't matter. It's not going to show up in the section. We're going to cut a section through the middle. So, but yeah, either way. All right, so looking at this, guys, is this a good section or a bad section? If you think about the section through this. Hunter? What makes it good? It shifts. Again, the worst three-dimensional information, and a section is three-dimensional of the plan, is like a sort of complex spatial relationship. If you're just extruding it, there is a role for that in some cases, and there are good buildings like that. But when you have the opportunity, try to shift things. Try to create, rooms that aren't purely like this. Try to create some interesting sectional variety. So the good thing we've done, and Lila, to answer your question, if you remember, and I should have used layers to organize this a little better. And I should be using hide to delete these things instead of delete. Right? So yeah, I scaled these, so they're not all the same size. The one on the back is 3 inches. So by doing this and then using the triangulation to stitch them all together, I give myself a decent section full of shifts, rotations, transformations. Oop, wrong undo. Okay. So I'm going to cut a section through this. So what are a few ways to do this? Some of you have started doing this. What? Who said that? Alberto, what did you say? I still can't hear you. Clipping plane. We can do clipping plane. This is a good way to visualize it. All right, so let's take a look at this. Yeah, so one thing to do, this is an option. See this? It's like just slicing it away. Look, like this would be a great space to stand in and look out. That would be a nice inhabitable skylight, don't you think? So that allows me to see it, and then how would I draw a section doing this? I could come in here and I could say things like duplicate edge. No, there's no edge. See, I can really only preview it. So it's a good way to find a spot. But the other way to do it is to just slice it the way that you actually slice a section. Well, you don't actually slice a section. You conceptually slice a section when you're drawing a section. But here, we can actually model it. So what I would recommend is that in plan, begin with a cut line, just like you do. Okay? So here's my cut line. And I want to look at this in plan. All right, I want to make sure I'm getting through all the way to the bottom. So this line is over here. So I'm going to cut a section through it in two times. So one, I'm going to try to get through all 3 squares. You see, I can really only do it like here. And then, so this is like a straight section, and I'm going to do another one. Draw another cut line. I'm going to turn off ortho and maybe like slice it through at a different angle. So this is like called an oblique section. Okay? So we're going to slice through doing this. So let's copy and paste this twice, and we'll do each one individually. I'm going to turn ortho back on. Okay, so one is going to be my straight cut. One's going to be my oblique cut. I could also cut one through this way. Like usually when you try to document a 3D condition, you cut a section through and like at least two points. Okay, so this one I'll make the straight cut, and this one I'll make the oblique cut, right? So those overlap like that. This is like my key plan, yeah? So a few ways to do this. One, I could simply type project, and I can select this, and select this, and I can project it. And now if I look at this in perspective, I get the exterior cut line. It didn't get this because I didn't join that together. So let's just do it again. Make sure we select the interior this time. So project. Okay, so now in perspective, I've got that and I've got that. Okay. If I look at that, right, so I could join these. I could hatch them. I can make it light gray, dark gray. Okay? So I have a hatch section through there. Okay, there's one section. Is that a section, guys? It's to scale. It shows an accurate cut line through there. If you just want the profile, I recommend that when you're working back and forth between like drawing, try to simplify. You might end up with a really complex model like this, like more complex than this. And what a lot of students will do is just slice it off and take a screenshot of it. And there's too much information you'll see. It's like all this background stuff you don't want. Try to extract layers out of your model like this. So here we have the outline. And what I want to do is copy this over again. And what would help this describe it better? I mean, this gives an accurate geometry slice. So you see if somebody were standing here, they would be looking obliquely. Say this was a large office building and you had, you know, floors like this. You know, it'd be a good atrium through a building. It would add complexity to it. But how do we, what else could we add to this?
Outline?
What is it?
Outline of the actual model?
Yeah, we could add the actual outline. So almost like an elevation line. So, you know, one way to do that would be to look at it from the same side. Is it this side? Yeah. So we could do dimension, make 2D. We don't want the hidden lines. All right, so I've got the outline now. I'm going to go line it up with my section. So I'm going to rotate it. Just do a simple 90-degree rotation. And again, remember your elevations and sections, your cut lines are always your thickest lines, right? So give that a certain line weight. We'll give this a different line weight, and we'll group it. And then maybe we add these hatches to really show what's being hatched. I really want to push this to the back. This kind of gets it. We may want to, put this hatch in front of this when we lay it out. But that's a little better. What else? What else are we missing? Well, aside from that, I mean, these are just 1 inch. These are just 1 foot things. The what? Yeah, the background elevation information. Particularly what? Like, you have no idea that this is this triangulated structure looking at this, right? The what? Yeah, through the hole, so through here, so we should see the triangles, like tessellating this thing. So, to get that, let's copy this again. How can we get that information, Amaya? Let's just slice it off. So we can do extrude, curve, right? So we're just going to cut away all this stuff. Yeah, look, the nice thing about Rhino is there are a lot of ways of doing things. Okay, so let's start with this. We even can clip all of this. Okay, see that? Exactly, look. Here it is. What do we, yeah. Make 2D. Okay, I'm going to rotate it. 90. Going to look at it in perspective. I'm just going to group all that briefly. So I'm going to do a rotate 3D now. Okay, it's a little better. And what this is showing are the triangulations even inside the poche. You may want that. You don't have to have it. But you may want to just keep all that stuff, send it all to the background, and then just hatch through what you're cutting. So this is pretty good. So this would be a pretty good actual section elevation. What other kinds of sections are there? Think of 3 kinds. What? Yeah, there's folded sections. Remember the labyrinth? Remember the bent knife? Slice through. So one way to do that. Guys, so a folded elevation is this. Right, I'm going to come down to here, come over to here, and then come through here. Right, so I could slice it off like that. Yeah, but for our purposes in 3D, what's another kind of section? Yeah, section perspective. That might be a good one for you to do. And I love section perspective drawings. There's a book in the syllabus on the architects on the studio reading list called The Manual of Section. Have any of you seen this? A lot of section perspectives in here. See that? That's nice, isn't it? Okay, so this is really two drawings overlaid. The section is accurate. It's still what we started with, what we sliced. Let's see, where are we? Okay, it's still that. So let's copy this over. And then all the other information is going to come from this. So again, I would recommend slicing through it, coming back to this view, but now let's make this a perspective. Have we gone over this? So in the drop-down menu here, see the camera up here in the top left? If you click drop-down and go to viewport properties, see where it says parallel? We want to make this perspective. And to illustrate, I'm going to do this 3 different times to illustrate lens length. It's really your, are any of you photographers who use cameras with different lenses? Like the human eye sees in 50 millimeter focal length, isn't it? 35 millimeter is probably the most common focal length, and that's the length between the two lenses. And then when you start to reduce that, like 28, 18, those are called fisheye lenses, like very wide perspectives. So we'll start with 50. Okay, and we're going to come back here, zoom in on it. So zoom selected. We're still in the same viewport. You don't want to move around. Like once you start doing that, you start shifting the whole thing. So one more time, we'll say set view. We're on the right. We want to zoom in on it. We're going to come in drop down menu, viewport properties, change it to perspective. Leave it at 50 initially, okay? Now we're going to do make 2D. All right, so we're going to come to the top. All right, so there's one. All right, you see it? Let's do it again with a different focal length. All right, so I'm still in the same viewport. I haven't moved the camera location. I'm going to change this to 28. Oh. See this magnifying glass? So I can undo that view change. So I selected it in this viewport, but I grabbed something in the background. So I'm going to try to grab it, just here. And then come back here and zoom select. Let me make sure I reset the, 28. Okay, zoom back in, suit dimension, make 2D. I've been turning off the hidden lines. As a rule, I think you should always keep them indicated because they're on a separate layer. You can just turn them off. Sometimes they're useful. All right, so I'm going to line these up side by side so you can see the difference. And then I'm also going to take, leave it there. I'm going to move these over to here. You don't want to move things on top of other things that are difficult to grab. And you may want to group these so they stay together. Okay, so I'm going to rotate these. Okay, now I'm going to take this Just copy it over each one. Okay, so now if we look at these in the side perspective, I think we need to budge. I need to line them up a little better. All right. Okay, so you see the bottom of the Breezeblock down here with a kind of one-point perspective in the background. And let me reset this view. Okay. So these are my, these would be like section perspectives for the middle. You even see a little bit of the bottom here. That is not visible here. It's less visible because the camera angle was less extreme. Okay? Does everybody feel they could do this? See that? Yeah?
So which one do you prefer?
Either is fine. You'll see that in some cases, like the regular eye distortion doesn't quite grab enough information, so you may want to widen the camera angle. And to give you an idea, let me see. Let's move this one up here. Let's move this one up here. Valerie, why'd you say you couldn't do this? It's what? Even if you followed my video? All right, look, I'm overlaying the red and green just to show you the differences. So just based on that camera angle, you'll get more or less distortion. And you're actually distorting the space when you do that. But Val, you can slice through your Breezeblock, yeah? You can't slice through your Breezeblock? Well, I mean, of course, you'll have to take the time to do this. But fundamentally, you guys feel like you could do this? This is a fundamentals class. Yeah? What I don't want is some of you are going to do this, and you're just going to take a screenshot of it, or you're going to bring all the lines, you're going to do a make 2D at once, and then it's just going to be a mess. And some of you have like very complex wall systems, right? So if you have the Sunny Hills project and you're slicing through all of that stuff, or say you have the Tel Aviv Art Center and you have all those triangles and you're slicing through your 3D model, but not being selective about what you're taking out of it, it's just going to be a big mess, and it's going to make your life complicated. So this is a kind of effort to get you to organize the lines, take lines selectively, overlay them. Like this is a nice clean drawing now, right? And everything is kind of grouped. I've got the hatches, I've got the outline, and then I've just got all this background information. Does that make sense? Franca? What happened to your friend? She went home? She's sleeping? Okay. So this is what I would like you to try for Wednesday. I think if you sat there for an hour, you could do this, no problem. Export it to AutoCAD, put it on a sheet, and draw two sections. One, a regular section, and one, a section perspective. Okay?
So you want the other section like...
Okay, the question is, how do we cut that oblique section? All right, so let's do this one. All right, so let's extract this curve. Sorry, let's extrude this curve. Again, make sure you're cutting all the way through it, which we are here. All right. Let's trim it off. I'm going to type trim, select cutting objects. I select the plane, click enter, and now select objects to trim. Yes.
You want to try a different command?
Why?
No, I'm just gonna because there's a command that you could use, and it just sections it off for you, and then you can make 2D.
Yep. Isn't it called section?
No,
Oh, we did clipping plane.
no, you did. Yeah, you
This is a fundamentals class, guys.
did.
I'm interested that you fundamentally know how that works.
I know.
So you're not relying on the clipping plane and getting things that you don't know where it's coming from. So there are automated commands for everything that we're doing here. But I'm interested that you understand this. So 1 second, we'll try that in a second, Amaya. So the question, though, is, how do we do this once we slice that off? So what I would do is just rotate this parallel to the viewport. So in plan, I would just rotate the whole thing. Okay? And I'll show you in the next class how to place the camera and rotate it. So you could also, instead of rotate, just place the camera, because you won't often want to slice your entire model, rotate it. So you can place the camera and rotate the camera parallel to it or perpendicular to it. So I'll show you that in the next class. But for now, I would do it like this. Okay, and now I'm looking directly into it. That's how I made the plane out of the line. So you see that? That's a pretty nice section. And let's look at it in... Let's look at it in perspective. All right, that's a pretty good looking section. So this is a weak section. What are we missing here? Yeah, we're missing the cut line and the hatch. So let's move this over to here now. Again, I would group all this as light gray background lines. Okay, and we'll group it. Okay, so how can we get these cut lines from here? Yeah, we can duplicate the edge, so we could type dupe edge or border. If we do border, it's going to do everything, so let's do edge. And then we can come in here and select each one at a time. Click enter and join. Do that one more time over here. Dupe edge. Okay, so now we can take these lines. We can hatch them. We can go to properties and we can make these, whatever color. Maybe dark gray. Okay. In fact, this looks like a better section. Yeah? Everybody got that? What's that?
When we're cutting the section, it's just a line. Can we add some thickness, or is it okay if we leave it like that?
I would just do that with line weights in AutoCAD. Yeah? I mean, if you're, doing it like suggesting it's a material, then you could actually model that. But because this is just like a 12-inch module, just use thick and thin line weights. So, one more quick drawing to do. Again, this is our top view, so if we do dimension, make 2D drawings. Gives us this. But if we change our top viewport to a perspective, right? So we can go to viewport properties, perspective, we can do 28. That gives us this. Uh-oh. What do you notice about this? The scale is a little arbitrary. Let's see, this one might be 12 inches still. Yeah, this one got smaller for some reason. So this is why you might want to line them up side by side and actually cut the section lines through before you do the perspective, just to make sure that it's all the same scale. So we can always just stretch this back. Okay. It shrank it, but it's like, where do you actually make 12 inches? This is the top, or do you do the back? And if we do the hidden lines, we should be able to make these dashed. Okay. See that? So there you can see the depth of this thing compared to this. Here you're seeing the opening through the middle, but here you're seeing the perspective of the entire block plus the opening through the middle. All right? Valerie, do you feel you could do this? Come on, guys. I'm trying to bite off and give you baby steps.